I've moved into 4 apartments in the last 3 years. Different cities, different buildings, different landlords. But every single one of them does the same thing. At exactly 3:12 a.m., they wake up. The first apartment, well, the first time it happened, I didn't think much of it. It was a new place, my first night there. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. to the sound of the floor settling. You know, those little creaks and pops a building makes. Normal stuff. I glanced at the time on my phone, rolled over, and went right back to sleep. That was the only night it felt normal. On the second night, the sound wasn't random anymore. It moved. It traveled from one room to the next. The living room. The kitchen. The hallway. And then, it just stopped right outside my bedroom door. The clock read 3:12 a.m. I kept my eyes shut tight. I didn't dare open them. I just listened to the silence that followed. I moved out 2 months later. I couldn't take the feeling of being watched, of being listened to by the very walls around me. I got a different apartment, signed a new lease, hoped for a fresh start. The first night was perfectly quiet, blissful, even. But the second night, 3:12 a.m., the same sounds. Not identical, no, but familiar. It was like the building was clearing its throat, getting ready to speak. By the time I was in the third apartment, I decided to test it. I stayed awake. I turned on all the lights, set my phone to record audio, and just sat there on the edge of my bed, watching the clock. 3:11 ticked over. Then, 3:12. The apartment responded instantly. Every pipe in the walls started to hum in unison. Every wall began to vibrate, just slightly. It wasn't a violent shaking. It felt careful, calculated, like it was adjusting itself, calibrating itself to me. And here's the part that really truly scared me. It reacts to attention. If I pretended to be asleep, the noises would get louder, more insistent. If I held my breath and stayed perfectly still, they would calm down. And if I whispered anything, just a single word into the dark, it stopped completely. Just dead silence, as if it was listening, as if it was waiting for me to give it permission to continue. In the fourth apartment, I finally worked up the courage to ask a neighbor. An older woman who lived across the hall. I kept it vague. I just asked her if she ever heard strange noises at night. She looked at me, her eyes tired, and she didn't even ask what kind of noises. She just said, "Don't acknowledge it." I asked her what she meant. She leaned a little closer and whispered, "Once it knows you're aware, it starts rearranging things." The very next morning, my furniture was wrong. Nothing was thrown across the room. It was subtle. My desk chair, which I always left pushed in, was now angled slightly, pointing toward my bedroom door. The bathroom mirror was tilted just a fraction downward, so I had to stoop to see my own reflection. The couch no longer faced the TV. It was turned toward the hallway. That afternoon, I pulled out my lease and read it again, line by line. And there it was, a clause I'd completely missed before, buried deep in the fine print. It said, "Tenant agrees not to alter the unit's internal arrangement without written permission." I hadn't altered a single thing, but something had. I told myself it had to be stress. Sleep deprivation. My imagination was just running wild, filling in the gaps. So I moved again, this time to a brand new building. The paint was still fresh. It had no history, no ghosts in the walls. The first night, at 3:12 a.m., the apartment didn't make a sound. Nothing. I smiled. A wave of pure relief washed over me. I had finally escaped it. Then I heard it, my own footsteps. Walking through the living room. Slowly, carefully, one foot in front of the other. But I was still in bed. I hadn't moved a muscle. That's when I finally realized the truth. It was never the apartments. It was me. It was the act of moving in. The moment you sign the lease, unpack your boxes, and claim a space as your own. That's the moment it learns you. It learns your habits. It learns the rhythm of your breathing as you sleep. It learns your awareness. And at 3:12 a.m., it checks. It checks if you're still listening. Now, I don't move into places anymore. I stay in hotels. Anonymous rooms. I leave the lights on all night, and every single night at 3:12 a.m., I feel it. I feel the room waiting. It doesn't make a noise. It doesn't move anything. It just listens. It listens to see if I belong there. Some places don't care who you are. They only care when you arrive.